Hi guys, I'm Maria, and in this video I want to talk about the New Year's Eve strike in Makiivka that led to the deaths of hundreds of Russian soldiers and the aftermath. Makiivka is a small town in the Donetsk region that is temporarily occupied by Russian forces, and it is very close to the front lines of the fighting. On the New Year's Eve, the Ukrainian military hit a vocational center in Makiivka that was housing hundreds of mobilized Russian soldiers. The strike was so severe that even the Russian Defense Ministry had to acknowledge it and said that about 60 soldiers had been killed. And then they changed this to 89. The Ukrainian military, however, claimed that 400 Russian soldiers died in this attack. I'm going to talk about these numbers just in a moment, but first let's talk about what made the strike so devastating. Now, it turns out that this vocational center was not just used for housing Russian soldiers, but it was also a storage for ammunition, and it was right next to a fuel storage facility. Yes, you understood that correctly. The Russians decided to put hundreds of soldiers in one place that also had lots of explosive ammunition, which was just next to an oil facility right next to the front lines. When Ukrainians found about this, they hit the vocational center with 4 HIMARS rockets. Many of those who were not killed in the initial strike suffocated under the burning rubble. And independent observers estimate the Russian casualties to be between 300 and 600 dead. Many of the survivors were also severely wounded. In addition to the Russian casualties, it is estimated that at least 10 units of armored equipment were destroyed. So this is basically a summary of what happened, and now I want to talk about the reaction from the Russian side and also about what it means for the war. The Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation has acknowledged that 89 dead, which is ridiculous. At the time of making this video, at least 280 have been confirmed to have died. One can assume that the Russians faced internal pressure to acknowledge this attack, but keep the numbers artificially low because they don't want to give credit to Ukraine for such a lethal strike, and also because they want to reduce the payments for the dead. Of course, this kind of attack cannot be kept quiet, and even Russian military bloggers and analysts are talking about it openly and accusing the Russian commanders for criminal negligence. It's clear that Russians on social media are not happy. Russia's defense ministry has blamed the unauthorized use of mobile phones by the mobilized soldiers, leading to the discovery of their location. Of course, we know this is false, firstly, because the Russian Ministry of Defense said it, and we know that everything they said is a lie. But more importantly, Russian soldiers have their phones taken away to avoid exactly this scenario. It's clear that the Russian leaders are looking for someone to blame. The other thing to note is that as these are mobilized soldiers, they lack training. And the fact that it was on the top of ammunition storage, right next to oil depot, it's just absurd. But that's not all. A couple of days ago, we watched a video of a Russian soldier lying on the hospital sofa who survived the attack. He said that it was entirely the commander's fault, and he gathered all the soldiers in one building in order to listen to President Putin's New Year speech. Even the untrained soldiers understood that this was a bad idea, but they had to obey the idiotic orders of the commander. The survivor even named the commander responsible, but the survivor has reportedly died in hospital due to his injuries and burns. I don't know, he was in hospital, so maybe he accidentally fell out of a window from a room that has no windows. It's not just negligence, it shows a complete communicational breakdown. And this is not the first time it's happened, and unlikely it is the last. These problems are only growing for the Russians as they use more and more untrained, mobilized soldiers. But that's not all still. The Ministry of Clowns and Defense of the Russian Federation has released a statement about the retaliation for the Avdiivka strike. They claim that they attacked a building in Kramatorsk, housing hundreds of Ukrainian soldiers, resulting in the destruction of 600 Ukrainian soldiers. But journalists have already disproven this by visiting this site they claimed they hit, and found out that they didn't even hit the empty buildings, only filled next to it. And what's more is even the Russians and Wagner units are saying that this is total bullshit. Well, you know the rule, if the Kremlin says it happened, it means that probably they lost 600 soldiers. So was this a strategically significant attack? Well, this attack was significant for Ukrainian forces tactically, certainly, and it serves as a huge embarrassment of Russia, both for the military and the politicians. And these servicemen would shortly have been deployed to the front line of offensive attacks. The strike caused damage to Russia's logistic chain in the region, but it remains to be seen how strategically significant the attack was, because we know that Russia is not short of manpower and may just easily replace them. We already know they don't care about the lives of their soldiers. Anyway, that's all for now. Everything will be good, I'm sure of this. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and let me know what you think about this strike in comment. And of course, Slava Ukraini!